And Luke, what is your involvement with the dog world? What sort of work do you do?
I'm born and raised in the world of dogs, if you will. I'm a professional handler. We're also breeders, owners. Our kids do juniors. My parents are handlers and breeders, and my wife's parents are breeders, and her mom's a judge. So second generation working on and our third generation down the road.
So you're a community within a community, then?
For sure.
Which breeds do you handle?
Pretty much everything big to small we show. Mastiffs to Chihuahuas. We breed and own miniature bull terriers and Japanese chins. So
tiny but mighty.
Very much.
Talk a little bit, Luke, about what went on after COVID and what you and your community were doing to get things back on track.
As far as working with the different shows, or?
Pretty much any initiative that you were part of that helped to try and cope and make it possible for people to move forward.
Well, in the Northwest, we have a good group of handlers that'll help anyway, before all of this even. But there's a couple of us, Terry Erickson for one, and we just have been reaching out to the different clubs and seeing what we can do to help, because a lot of them have people that aren't willing to do things or aren't able or at a high risk and shouldn't. And we can help. We can do the things that, or help get people to help do the things that need to get done to bring the shows back.
Can you talk a little bit more specifically about what some of those things are and to whom you reached out?
As far as what we've done specifically, I mean, I've worked with a lot of clubs doing parking for them, helping them, lay out. We laid out grooming today here in Boise. Just manual labor type things, calling the individual clubs. We've talked to different superintendents. Everyone knows someone. So just reaching out to the clubs themselves, someone in the club, letting them know that there is help if they want it.
So the problem has been to some extent you're supplementing gaps in personnel because the roster of volunteers or staff people would already have been able to count on are not necessarily available? For sure.
Yeah, that's fair.
And how many clubs would you say you've reached out to?
Oh, I don't know. Every single one. I mean, every time I send in parking, I let them know that I'm there.
What estimate of clubs that are in your area?
What was that? Sorry?
What's an estimate of the number of clubs that are in your area?
That we've spoken to? 20? I don't know.
About how many is that out of the total number of clubs in your area?
Oh, it's every single one that has a show coming up. I mean, we've talked to. I've already done Zoom calls with clubs that are in January and into next year, talking about what has worked at some of the other shows, because we have gone to shows. We've seen what things are working for clubs and what things aren't. So I've talked to a lot of clubs on that side of things as well.
What are examples of those? What are some of the tactics that have been successful?
Just the different procedures. I mean, until a club's had a dog show, they don't understand the entrances and exits to the rings, how the armbands are handed out, what different things are done to limit exposure.
So it's partly training people to do things they're so used to doing in one way, just having to add this layer of caution.
For sure. Just like I said, having been there and seen it, and a lot of people haven't yet, it's hard for them to grasp what they need to do and how it needs to be done.
You and Terry work together a lot, is that right?
Everyone in the Northwest, but yeah, her and I have done a lot of trading back and forth, who we talk to and helping each other out and helping these clubs out, for sure.
She also described one of your efforts as having to do with the fact that the regulations are different across different kinds of borders and boundaries, and that you actually wound up creating a combined show because of that.
Right. When the governor relaxed his agricultural shows requirements and allowed us to have shows, it was right the same weekend that our Enumclaw show got canceled. I immediately reached out to the superintendent and to those clubs, as well as the club that was supposed to have a show coming up. Unfortunately for that club, their county wasn't far enough along, but they were able to give their weekend to the Big Enum show that it had to cancel. And then one of their clubs, because it was their 80th anniversary, went over and held their show as well in a county that was allowed.
Well, that sounds inventive.
Yeah. Well, if there's a will, there's a way, right?
Do you think it helps? What kinds of physical spaces are your shows generally held in? Because I think there's been some challenge about clubs that are in environments where there simply isn't a lot of space.
That's kind of going to be what we're going to run into here come the winter. In the summertime, our shows are pretty much outdoors. So if our regulations had been relaxed earlier, we would have been able to have a lot more shows, because they are outdoor shows all summer. We don't get super hot where we need to be inside. In the winter, we're inside because it's rainy and wet and can snow occasionally. And that's going to be where the problem is. Right now in Washington, it's 50 people per building, so you're really limited to like a ring or two a building.
What would you say has been the general spirit of people through all this?
For shows or in general in life there? That's a
I wouldn't dream of asking you the big question. You're in a particular kind of community. It's a community that I feel is kind of myself positive thinking, because dogs just do that to you. How have you found other people have responded?
I think the dog people have been resilient. I mean, they want to get back to doing what they love to do. And in that, I think they've been, well, I know I've seen more compliance with regulations and whatnot at dog shows than I do at the grocery store. So, yeah, I mean, they're positive. They just want to do what they're used to doing, just like anybody in any aspect of life right now.
Does it help in some respects that this is a community that is pretty much formal by nature? There are all kinds of protocols related to dog shows and how you handle yourself and how you handle your charges. Do you think because people are kind of trained up to work in those environments that it's been easier for them to cope?
Maybe. I hadn't thought of it like that. That's, yeah, very possible. I think just people in general they're going to do whatever they can right now to do what they want to do. Whether it's going to our kids' soccer games, which we just had started up. I mean, everyone follows the protocol there. You just don't want stuff taken away from you again. So people are following the rules.
What do you see as the long-term effects of this? I'm not asking you, of course, to make a pronouncement about public health, but do you think it's going to change anything about the fancy?
I don't know. That's for every individual, I guess.
One thing that strikes me, and it's obviously going to be different because there are so many different communities with different protocols, it almost feels as if you and Terry have created a kind of kit. There's a way to do this, and this is what makes it safe and possible. Have you thought about doing something like a video?
No, I have not thought about doing anything like that. I mean, we're by no means the ones who started any of this. The Southern Handlers and Ana Frio put on the first shows in June. They deserve all the credit. We just saw what they were doing and ran with it. So it's the same type of thing that Southern Handlers Charity League's doing. They deserve a lot of credit. They started it all up in June.
Those are amongst the other people we're planning to talk to. We wanted to get as many perspectives as possible.
Yeah, no, they deserve tons of credit. They do a wonderful job down there.
Do you see yourself at Westminster this year, do you think?
If it happens.
Mm-hmm. If you had to say one thing in parting about all of this, what would it be?
About all this? I have no idea. No clue. Yeah, I don't know what to say about all this.
Imagine this is one of those capsules that you get to bury in the ground and your children's children will dig it up.
I don't know. I don't have anything insightful on that. I don't want them to have to worry about. I hope they don't have to live through it. That's all. Just get back to normal. Wear your masks. Let's just follow the rules and yeah.
How old are your children?
Tegan will be 10 in February, so she's 9 still, and then Nolan's 6.
And they're already showing?
Tegan is, yeah. She's done juniors, and she showed her own dogs in the breeds. Nolan right now is not as into it. He'd rather play with his toys. It's not much his thing, but she's obsessed.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
As you say, it's nice to see so many generations coming through. Well, Luke, thank you very much for this time. I hope you have an extremely successful show week.
Thank you.